Good morning. And then you asked for it because you wanted me back on Saturday mornings because that was always appointment radio. Well, now I'm back on Saturday mornings in the new wave of the new world, and they really are the new world, and that would not they, it would be podcast. So good morning on this Saturday morning. We're live on the social media platforms of Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. And if you're seeing me, you're watching me or listening to me on one of those right now. Our guest today, how do you follow up Charles Barkley from the other night? You follow it up with another Hall of Famer, and that would be head coach Dick Vermeil. We'll get to Dick in a second, but obviously there's some things that we want to talk about, and that's what we do on Saturday mornings. You kind of go through the week. At least we're done all the media stuff with the Super Bowl. It's just over and over. Those poor coaches have to speak every day, and you can ask different questions, but it's the same question asked differently. So we're done all that. It's now the weekend of the game. The game is about 48 hours away, whatever it is. I'm not worried about the hours, but being Saturday and the game is on Sunday, and we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that with Dick Vermeil. I will talk about it. One of the things that I will address, after I'm done with the Hall of Fame coach and former Eagle coach Dick Vermeil, Sixers are an embarrassment, but we'll get to that later. But I also want to welcome in our first partner and sponsor, and that would be ABC Tickets. And the number you see there is 800-355-5555. I'm going to tell you, ABC, if you need a ticket anywhere in the world, these guys can help you. I've known them it's probably about 30 years right now. Really good people. And you don't have to worry about all those ticket fees and all the other things with your ticket outlets on the internet. These guys are straight up and will work with you. And I want to thank our first sponsor. And I've talked to some others that want to join and be part of the Howard Eskin Show on this podcast. Yeah, the Eagles, right now it's a pick. It was 1.5 all week, and right now it's become a pick. So the money right now is moving. Not that you don't win or lose the game. Kansas City, it fluctuates between Kansas City 1, the Eagles a pick. It's back and forth. So whatever it is, it's a tight game, and it will be a really good game. It's going to be a good game. I'll say this. I think the Eagles are the better team, but Kansas City has some advantages with the coach, the quarterback, and we'll talk about all that. All right. I want to welcome in the Hall of Fame coach, former Eagle coach, goes way back. And I remember when he came to the Eagles from UCLA, what an interesting time that was in the mid-'70s. And I remember when they first made the playoffs, and I guess it was the play. And let's bring Dick Vermeil in. First of all, Dick, I want to welcome you to a podcast. I thank you so much. And I remember that game that you got into the playoffs. That was the game that Herm Edwards picked up the fumble. Like, what the hell is Joe? Who called that play? What the hell is he doing?
Fired, whoever did it, okay.
He picks it up, runs it in, and we're a playoff. You were going crazy. Everybody was going crazy. Herm became legendary because of that play. Still to this day, obviously he can't forget it. I don't forget it, and I was there. But it was amazing, and that got you into the playoffs the first time. We'll get to the background there. Super Bowls. I want to talk about Super Bowls. Now, you've been in 2 of them, 1980 with the Eagles and 1999 with the St. Louis, at that time, St. Louis Rams. First of all, there's a difference between 80 and 99. It's not like it is today where you had to speak every day. When you got into your first Super Bowl, and Nick Sirianni's now in his second, what is it that was different or difficult to adjust to when you went to a Super Bowl?
Well, I think first you've got to get over the adulation, the excitement of accomplishing something. and forget you still have a game, and don't forget you still have a game to play. I think we spent a couple days, at least I did. I was floating. I was so excited about what we had accomplished in beating Dallas there. And our whole staff, we were like Leonard Toast, put on a team party downtown in a major hotel, hired an unbelievable singer, professional singer, and we were all dressed up to the T. It must have cost him a fortune on a Wednesday night because we had to buy. So it was almost as if we'd already won the world championship. No, we only won the NFC championship. But, I think we took a good approach. I called Chuck Noll, who was a friend, and discussed as a head coach preparing for a Super Bowl because he'd been to so many successfully. And he gave me advice, and I took his advice. He says, prepare your game plan completely, the X's and O's before you fly to the site, which we did. And then you practice during the week on a limited basis because we had bad weather all week in New Orleans. We were driving around on a bus looking for an indoor place to work from time to time. But and that helped me. It helped me. We didn't go into the game healthy because our starting flanker back, Charlie Smith, had broken jaw. We suited him up and let him take the first snap of the game so he could say he played in the Super Bowl. Scott Fiske, our number 3 receiver, couldn't play, had a stress fracture. So we had a 4th receiver who was a walk-on, undrafted free agent playing in the game. And, he could play. But we weren't at full strength. I'm not making excuses. It's just explaining. And we spent the week adjusting our offense in a way to try to take advantage of those we had that were healthy, especially true in the passing game. And I made some decisions that really hurt our offense. And when it's all said and done, I wouldn't have done it that way. Excuse me. But anyway, we ended up getting beat. The defense really played well enough for us to win. And we had the 1 touchdown call back. But that day, like I said, you only have to be the best team game day, okay? And that day, they were the best team. We went in the game favored because we had beaten them in Philadelphia. But we didn't blow them out of the stadium. We beat them by 1 score. But, we played Wilbert Montgomery was the leading receiver, not coming out of the backfield as a wide receiver. Perry Harrigan was in the running back position, and most of our one back formations, and that hurt our running game a little bit to take the number 1 ball carrier out of there and then move him as wide receiver. And I thought that we could compensate for our losses physically, and it didn't pay off for us, and then we turned the ball over. I was so smart. I called a play I thought was going to be good, got intercepted. Later on, I come back and I call the same thing again, thinking there's no way they could intercept the same twice. Wrong. I made him the player of the game, the linebacker. But it wasn't Jaworski's fault. It was mine.
It's when I look back at the game, it was obviously the first Super Bowl for a lot of people. You as a coach, but the players. Jaworski, and I haven't talked to Ron really about it for years and years. I thought he felt the moment of a Super Bowl, not in a good way. I think he was. Do you think, I should ask you, you would know as a coach, do you think playing in your first Super Bowl, as Ron Jaworski did, was a difficult situation, and it would be for a quarterback in any situation like that?
Well, first off, what made it difficult was the Raiders' scheme on defense, okay? They were a press man coverage team. Okay. And they had all pro, Hall of Fame corner at one side. Okay. And against us, especially now with only 1 starting receiver playing, that was really limiting to our quarterback because he couldn't count on him getting off the line of scrimmage. In those days, they darn near tackled you coming off the line of scrimmage. There weren't the rules that they have today. Mm-hmm. So it really stymied us. And our passing game wasn't sophisticated enough to take advantage of Prepley, their tight ends inside, or our back coming out of the backfield. It was, you would call it a limited offense compared to what you see today. And we were all of us were that way, but that really hurt Ron because he goes back anticipating receivers being downfield and they're not there. Now what do you do? Okay. You try to find somebody else to throw the ball, but it wasn't the best for him, and it didn't allow him to be as good as he really was.
When you look at, and then the other Super Bowl. So you experienced a Super Bowl, then you got in again with the St. Louis Rams. what does, and we'll correlate it to Nick Sirianni. He was in a Super Bowl 2 years ago. You were in a Super Bowl. Now, it was years apart. It was from 80 to 99. But nonetheless, you knew what the experience was. How important is that? Or do you think it's an advantage, or how much of an advantage is to already have been in one and then get to the second one?
I think it's more of an advantage for Nick this year than it was me at that time, because you already said there was 19 years apart. But even me, though, having been there once and being far more mature psychologically, emotionally, and everything else, it helped me. Plus, when we went the second time, we didn't have a bye. We played Tampa in St. Louis. Our defense played super. They darn near shut us out. If they hadn't blitzed, they would have won the ball game, because we had a side adjustment against the blitz, and Ricky Prohl catches a touchdown. Okay, or we don't go, they go. We didn't blow them out. It was our defense that won the game. But then we were on the airplane at 3:00 the next day flying to Atlanta. I left my entire coaching staff in St. Louis, so they didn't have to prepare for in a totally different environment. They didn't have to, all the equipment, the computers, all the video stuff, all the support staff. We left them all in St. Louis and flew them in 6:00 Wednesday morning for the first meetings with the team and the practice sessions. I went with the team because we didn't have time. And you know, it paid off. My coaches showed up Wednesday, game plan all in order, just like if we were playing Sunday at home, which gave us an advantage, because once you get in a new hotel you've never been in, half the time, most of the stuff doesn't work in the old days. So the light switch in the meeting room don't work. This plug, you plug in your stuff, it doesn't work. It was a pain in the butt. But by doing that, it helped my coaching staff really prepare. And then they got there Wednesday morning. We went to work. The weather wasn't really good in Atlanta. Remember ice storms? So we went to the game 4 hours ahead of time, 2 hours quicker, longer than we ever did. We're all sitting in the locker down there.
I was at that game. Where was that game, Dick? I was at that game, but you forget where it was. Where was it?
The other problem, Harold, people don't think about, and the NFL, they had to do it, I guess. But all your family, all the players' families, how do they get tickets to the game? You don't know you're going until Sunday, and you got to be there next week. And then, it was a nightmare for everybody, a total distraction.
You know, and that season was interesting too. So you had 2 Super Bowls with 2 quarterbacks the first time in it, and that was even beyond the first time. Kurt Warner became your quarterback when you lost Trent Green at the beginning of the season. And then the unbelievable year he had, and then he wins a Super Bowl in that year.
MVP.
Did you notice that he felt the tension of playing, with everything that happened to him in his life, the tension of that Super Bowl? And do other players feel that tension?
As I look back, so that's 25 years ago. Okay, 25 years ago this year. As I look back on what you're talking about, he was a naturally poised guy. It was all there. His first game he ever started, really, he played 16 snaps or 12 snaps a year before as a third quarterback. Rest of it was all the Arena League. But he had natural poise, gifted thrower, very accurate, and tremendous poise under pressure. And he was one of those guys, when it was in front of him, he could see it all. His decisions were quickly made, and Mike Martz did a beautiful job with him, getting prepared to play. But he never played like a first-year NFL quarterback. He played as if he was experienced, and we coached him that way. We didn't change the offense from the preseason game to the first league game against the Ravens. Okay, it was a good team, and we beat him. And
right.
It was a gift for us. Believe me, there aren't many. I don't know if there's anybody's ever done it before. His first 6 games played in the NFL are the finest first 6 games by a starting quarterback first year in the history of the league. It's amazing. But so we were very fortunate. We were lucky, fortunate, and we made, a couple good decisions. Plus,
when you look back at the last Eagles Super Bowl, Kansas City wins at the end. I mean, the turnover hurt in the first half, and that was turnovers, and I'll ask you about that shortly. But if the team has the ball, a team like that, and then it was Tennessee, right? It was Tennessee that you played, and they had the ball, and I don't know, I remember like, and you have to remember like it was yesterday. They're driving down the field. Boy, what is a coach thinking about when? And it had to be in Nick Sirianni's mind, the last Super Bowl he was in. You're thinking about, and they're moving down the field, and the game ends on the 1 yard line. I can't even imagine how much tension there is for a coach. It's unbelievable.
Oh, yeah, it is. It is. Plus, you have the worst seat in the house standing on the 50-yard line. And everybody's crowded the sideline because they're all looking to our left to see what's going on. And I didn't know they didn't score until I saw the side judge running in toward the center of the field, crossing his arms. They didn't score. Mike Jones makes the tackle. And they had worn us down in that second half, and they were big, strong, that we couldn't get the quarterback on the ground. He was chasing them all over the field.
Did we lose the audio?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So and my defensive lineman, and we were rotating defensive linemen, but they were exhausted. And later on, talking to Fisher, he said, "Coach, if we had scored, I was going for 2." So anyway, in fact, I talked to Mike Jones yesterday. He called me yesterday, who the kid that made the tackle, not a kid anymore. Okay. I lost you. Howard, I lost you.
You have me now?
Oh, they're back.
Do you have me?
Yeah.
In this, Nick Sirianni has, I would say, always been criticized. Some more, some less. I think he's a good coach. He's got a different kind of personality. When you look at Nick Sirianni as a coach, your thoughts on the way Nick not only coaches the football team, but gets the team to play for him, and he engages them. Your thoughts on how Nick handles and coaches the Eagles football team?
I have never been in the locker room. I've never been in a team meeting with them and everything, but as a fan, evaluating how it goes, how critically it's all evaluated all year, I think he does a good job of getting them to not so much play for him, to play together for everybody, including him. Trust him. They trust the coaching staff. They really appreciated the moves he made with coordinators, and it's all paid off for him. Howard, I say this, having been around the league since 1969, there are 3 kinds of coaches in the NFL. One you win because of, one you win along with, and one you win in spite of. And if you don't fit in one of those 3 categories, you're not an NFL head coach anymore for more than 1 or 2 years, and that's it. And I think we as coaches fit into one of those categories all through the season. Sometimes you win in spite of you. Sometimes you win because of the great decisions you made. And sometimes you win along with the decisions other people made. And I know I experienced all phases of that category of an NFL football coach. And it's getting worse today. I mean, it is amazing. Some coaches that got fired. For example, take me, St. Louis Rams. We win 4 and 5 games before we win the world championship. Now, if the owners listened to the media and listened to everybody else and didn't listen to the head coach, I wouldn't have been there for the 3rd season. I'd have been fired. In fact, I remember talking to Parcells. We talked all the time. And he said, coach, there's rumors they're going to get fired. I says, Bill, they'd do me a favor. They'll do me a favor. We're working our butts off. And I can remember telling John Shaw, the president, did a great job. And he was only there on weekends. He lived in L.A. And I said, John, this team is a playoff football team. And he says, Dick, don't tell me that. All my coaches tell me that. It hasn't happened in a long, long time. I said, I've been around. I've seen good teams. I've watched good teams when in broadcasting. I've watched them play. I've watched the kind of players. We have the kind of players. I have the kind of coaching staff. This is going to be a good football team. And it went beyond my expectations. Okay.
Yeah. And Nick, when I look at coaches, there's players that love you. There's players that respect you. But in the case of some coaches, you don't get both from most of the players.
That's true.
And
Good.
I think Nick Sirianni's got both. I don't know if Bill Belichick got both. I know everybody thinks he had Tom Brady. I mean, let's be honest, and then you can't criticize him. I will. But he had Tom Brady. But you know, he's got everybody engaged. I've been told by players, their meetings are engaging. You know, you've seen players fall asleep during meetings. You don't want it, but they don't do that. He does things to kind of engage them. So what, and we kind of touched on it, what makes a successful head coach?
Number one, personnel. I'll tell you what, I'm at UCLA. Next door office is John Wooden. And one day I'm sitting there talking with him. He says, Coach, the best coach teams don't always win. But more often than not, the best material team wins with good coaching. Now he says there are coaches that can take an average team and win more games than other coaches would with that average team. And he said there's every once in a while there's somebody that'll take an average team and make him a great team. That's what you want to strive to be. That's what you want to be.
And the coach has to have good players.
No
but
question.
That doesn't mean you're always going to win just because you have good players.
Teams, when a staff is fired and the very next year they start winning, normally the staff was not doing a good enough coaching job as a staff, or there were too many critical injuries and they couldn't be as good as they originally had the ability to be. And but Nick, I think I keep saying to him, just evaluate the win-loss record. He's done a fine job, and he has a very good chance of winning a Super Bowl tomorrow. A very good chance. As you already said, they have overall 22 starters, probably better talent overall. But they have a couple dominating situations going there with that quarterback, with that tight end, get some receivers healthy. Their offensive line doesn't come close to comparing with
unbelievable. Yeah.
So that there's plus and minuses in it. But overall, their 22 players on the average are more talented overall. And but that doesn't always mean they're going to win. They have a plus in Andy Reid. He's been there many times. He's been running that offense and improving it for 20 years. Okay, you can't put him into a situation that he'll panic it. He's been there, done it before, and he's done it so often successfully. Boy, I'll tell you, having that experience behind you is just so valuable. And that big game board he's looking at, those situations are there. 17 games by a NFL record by one score margin? 17 games. It's
unbelievable. It's
Yeah.
unbelievable. I mean,
Well,
people
Nick,
like to look at the officials
Yeah.
and say it's the officials that won and they got some good calls, but I don't think it was one of the best years for the officials, but you still have to go out there and win games. And sometimes it comes down to the end, but here are three factors I look at in this game. And I'm going to ask you how you look at them. The head coach is better for Kansas City. I mean, I think Nick Sirianni's good, but Andy Reid's the best coach in football.
Yeah.
The quarterback is better for Kansas City, although Jalen Hurts has had a very good year.
Mm-hmm.
And the Eagles, it's amazing. They were plus 10 in turnovers in the playoffs. So the importance of all three of those factors into winning the game. And I don't think Kansas City doesn't turn the ball over. So the Eagles are going to have to win
11
football
year. Yeah.
So when you look at those three factors, how do you weigh those three factors when you look at this football game?
Well, sometimes the fact that you have been turnover free or giveaway free all of a sudden explodes. Detroit Lions. Okay. All of a sudden, all the good luck they had in not turning over the ball or fumbling it and recovering it themselves, or an interception that someone dropped, all of a sudden it backfired on them. And, you always talk about the numbers in gambling. The guy you used to have on your Saturday show, I love listening to him talk about the different. And
he's got so many numbers. It's great. Mark Lawrence, so many numbers. Yeah.
But, sometimes it just all of a sudden doesn't go your way. The controversy is created a little bit by the media in regard to the officials. I give the credit to the coaching staff. They've done a great job. You know, Howard, you've watched a lot of football games. How many times have you seen a defensive back running with a wide receiver, grab his jersey? He knows that's not legal. He knows there's a 60% chance it's going to get called. Kansas City has eliminated a lot of those. I think that's coaching, that's structure, that's discipline. And the game could come down to some corner tomorrow evening around 6:30, 7 o'clock, grabbing a player's jersey in the red zone and giving them a first down and goal to go and giving them the win maybe. So being able to coach that stuff out of your game, out of your personality as a football team, the Chiefs have done a great job. The Eagles have done a great job now. I mean, they really have. They've done a real good job. So, but those are the things that sometimes are a positive reflection of coaching rather than the giving the credit to the officials. They're helping the Chiefs or helping, As a head coach, I tell you this, many times I thought the referee was helping the opponent and going for, we're playing Brett Favre, okay, big name, okay, we're playing so-and-so, big name quarterback. Oh, they're giving him, Jaworski's getting the hell knocked out of him, but no personal fouls called, okay. Many times I felt that way. But, as I look at it now as an old timer, they miss calls. The game is too fast to call perfectly.
But I would think in the coach and quarterback, Kansas City has the advantage. Turnovers, the Eagles do, but they're playing a team now that doesn't turn the ball over.
Right.
And that has really changed the dynamic of the Eagles, all their playoff games. It's changed the whole dynamic.
Give Vic Fangio and his staff credit. They have done an unbelievable job. Really. You talk about turning their defense around. Of course, Howie Roseman with the personnel and the draft and everything helped turn it around. You don't turn it around as much without the players. But Vic, to me, should have been the assistant coach of the year. And Johnson was, and he did a great job. But he did a great job last year. It's not a surprise he did a good job this year. But to go from nothing to something to the number one defense. Chiefs have a very fine defense. But if you compare the Eagles' numbers, I've got them in front of me, compare the two defenses. They don't match up. The Eagles' defense has a greater edge on so many different stats that you evaluate in comparing the quality of a team. Of course, it isn't all against common opponents. So that changes it, But I believe if we win the football game, the defense will play like they've been playing all along. If they don't, and Andy Reid and Mahomes are good enough to overcome the strengths of our defense, we don't win the ball game.
It's amazing. As many games as when you get to this point as a team has played. And Andy Reid, Nick Sirianni's creative, so I'm not going to take it away from him. Andy Reid's going to have one or two plays that they haven't run all year, right? Yeah, how do you hold that? How do you go through a whole season and still have plays left?
Well, you see, I have sat in with him in quarterback meetings in Kansas City, so I know what goes on. And he actually claims that he lets the players give him a thought from time to time, and they put it together. And many times those are run inside the red zone area. But that's him. Like I said, there's very little he hasn't seen, very little. And there's probably very little he hasn't done. He may come up with something he did with the Eagles when they lost the NFC Championship game to the Rams, years and years ago. It's there. And he knows in evaluation, in preparation, looking at opponents' defenses and looking at individual players and looking how they handle movement, motion, how it distracts them, how it disguises what you're doing. All of a sudden, boom, there it is. What was it a year ago? Runs a guy in motion, starts to go across, the corner starts running across. No, he stops and runs back and he's throwing the ball touchdown. Okay.
It's unbelievable. All right, I'm going to touch on something. I don't know what's best. Brandon Graham is, and I'm become friendly with Brandon, obviously working with him, doing the show. And he's worked so hard, he's back, but is he back? Is it, could it be a disadvantage if he plays? How many snaps can he play when he hasn't played for months? And is there a concern that Brandon Graham is so much a part of the Philadelphia Eagles? And if he suits up, you take away a roster spot and the other guys are playing well. And there's probably somebody there you can take away a roster spot. I know there's an offensive lineman that won't be dressed, but that's a different side of the football. Do you have to be careful not to be nice to the player and you did it with your wide receiver, but then you short yourself in today's game. How many snaps can Brandon Graham play? And we all hope for him to be in uniform for the Super Bowl. But is it a good idea, in your opinion?
Well, first off, I have great respect for what they're doing, and I don't think they'll put him in the ball game unless he's ready to play. Unless he's really, it would not do him a favor, and it would not do the team a favor. I've been involved in those kind of decisions because I usually get so close to my players. But I kind of believe if he plays, he's playing because he can make a Brandon Graham contribution to winning. I believe that. Plus, he is such a positive effect on everybody around him. He's a magnet to success. He really is. And to me, he's a lifetime Eagle. When he retires, they create a position and pay him well to keep him there and help mature the younger players as they come through the league. Not as a pat on the back, but I mean really great advice, leadership, demanding, pushing, correcting, disciplining young kids. They don't come around like that very often. To me, he's my Carl Harrison.
Wow. He connects with people so well. And he's like a regular guy. He goes out, he does, he's always out, whether it's a charity function, whether it's a commercial function. Obviously, he's getting paid for it, but he does a lot of things out of the goodness of who he is. And he's connected so well. But once you get on the field and you're 1 minute in the game, none of that matters. He's got to be able to give him snaps. And that's the thing that I'm thinking about. Is he ready to give him enough snaps?
Howard, how far back our discussion right now takes me. I'm offensive coordinator at UCLA, 1970. Tommy Prothro. Now he quits. He's not doing the X's and O's. He is coaching the overall team, but not the offense. I'm running the offense. And I remember many times he said the biggest mistake you can make is to think a guy is healthy and he is not, because you won't find out he can't make the play he used to play until the game's over, and maybe it cost you the game. I never lost that thought. So whenever I positioned myself to make that decision, I went back to thinking about Tommy Prothro. And the reason he came up with that, UCLA's playing O.J. Simpson, USC, national television, both teams, almost undefeated, playing for the Rose Bowl, when the Rose Bowl was really the place to go. The Rose Bowl was the college Super Bowl in that time. And a player that he loved, his name was Manning, linebacker. Okay. And was a great linebacker, but he was banged up. And he convinced the coach he could play. In the fourth quarter, he missed a play that he would never miss because he couldn't get there. And they lost the game. OJ scored. Okay. He scored. Off he went. And he said that taught him a lesson. No matter how much I love the guy, if I'm not convinced he's 100% physically ready, I'm not going to play. And that's what he told me.
Yeah. This is really, Super Bowls are usually pretty close. And this game, I think is going to be really close. I said the Eagles, and I think you agree, and I think you said it. The Eagles have better personnel, but that's not. It comes down to other factors. So you roll that computer of yours out there, and you put all the numbers in. And these people that make up lines, it's not people, it's computers. And that's why the line is so tight. It's bounced back between 1.5 Kansas City favorite to a pick 'em. Then in some places now, Kansas City's a 1-point favorite. It's going back and forth. When you look at it and you weigh all the things, and I love your computer because you look at football as football, but you also look at the numbers and the analytical part of it. What does your computer say in this game?
It says the Eagles will win by 5. Now, my computer, the programs I got it I started with this in 1960. George Allen had a friend named Bud Goody. He was a mathematician, genius. And it gradually moved his information from hand and mind to the computers. And Bud Goody was not a football guy. And George asked me during my rookie year in coaching to spend time with this guy to educate him and maybe what information he should look for, but that coaches would want to know. Okay. Now those programs have gotten much more sophisticated over there. Bud Goody passed away. His full-time job, he was producer for the Groucho Marx show in Hollywood.
Groucho Marx show.
Curious.
Some people listening and watching we know who Groucho Marx is. They don't even know who Groucho Marx is.
I'm telling you the truth.
They don't even know who Howdy Doody is. I mean, it's.
But anyway, they measure a lot of things. When we're talking about your strengths, how you beat a team with great quarterbacks is you beat the people that allow him to be a great quarterback. Our pass rush, our change-up coverages. Vic's defense, when you watch it from afar like I do, as a fan, it looks simple, but there's a lot of things going on with his players, and they do it well. So all of a sudden, that great quarterback isn't as good because of the opponent, and plus his own personnel, their own offensive line isn't quite good enough to give him the time to be what he has the ability to be. So it's going to be a great game. Great game. I just hope it doesn't come down to a bad official's call or something like that, because that call goes on forever. Then you hear about it for a year.
You know what? You don't want it to come down to a field goal, because Jake Elliott's been a great field goal kicker for the Eagles, but I can't believe it's kind of interesting. I correlate it to a golf swing. Golfers are in a zone for years, and all of a sudden, bang, they're gone. It's gone. Like, what happened?
It's a golf swing.
Jake Elliott, missing extra points, that's not him. So you don't want it to come down because, and I know he's not kicking 50-yarders anymore because he got older. And I was told by somebody who coaches special teams guys, sometimes when you get older, you use your hips more to give it more, and it kind of gets you a little out of whack. I don't want to get too technical, but I'm hoping it doesn't come down to a field goal.
Yeah. I'll tell you, as a head coach in my career, once I had nothing but problems with kickers. Okay. I can remember a guy coming off the field. I say, listen, you have one frickin' job to do it, So in my frame of mind, even with my coach, it says, we don't put ourselves in a position we put the game in one person's hands. Yeah, we've all seen it. Okay. There's no excuse for getting them blocked. That happens. That's poor fundamentals within the coaching of the special teams. I was the very first special teams coach ever hired, 1969. And no one coached all that stuff in great deal. And it gave us a great advantage. We lost a championship game on a goal-to-goal play with the Rams because our all-pro Hall of Fame left guard twitched. 5-yard penalty. We don't score. We lost the game. You feel better losing it that way almost than you do if you got a 20-yard field goal and the guy misses it.
What happens? Saquon Barkley obviously is a terrific back. I always said that the Giants, when they drafted him number 2, you don't draft a running back in the top 10 because you usually need a quarterback and an offensive line. And great back when he came out of Penn State, but that was a mistake. Now he's played really well. If Kansas City, and they're going to try to take Saquon out of the game a little bit, if they take him out of the game, can Jalen Hurts win? The Eagles are trying to keep him around 21 passes a game, 21 attempts, somewhere in that area. If they take Saquon Barkley out of the game, can Jalen Hurts, in your opinion, win the game, or what will it take for him to win the game for the Eagles?
No question. I don't think Jalen Hurts has any limitations. He's going to have some poor games and some good games, but he can win the football game for you. No question in my mind. A lot depends on the game plan, how it's prepared, practiced, and the tempos during practice. A quarterback doesn't get any better throwing the ball in walkthroughs. Okay. He doesn't get him. Oh, I see you. It's complete. No, it doesn't work that way. You ask Peyton Manning. Ask Peyton Manning. Every pass he threw on the practice field was full speed. And if you were the receiver and you weren't running full speed, you knew it from Peyton Manning. Okay, that's it. But I really don't think he has any limitation. He may not be perfect in any one day. We've seen some great quarterbacks lose big games. Hell, but I really think you could put it in his hands with the good game plan and offensive line we have. First off, they're not going to shut down the run. I don't believe you got to gamble too much. You have to gamble too much on defense to shut it down. And if you do, then you've got who has better receivers than we do.
Yeah, and that really obviously is important. So you think the Eagles, they win by 5? They obviously nobody.
I'm not saying that I think. I'm just telling you what the computer tells me. Everyone asks me who I'm rooting for. I say I'm going to root for the team that wins and feel very sad for the team that loses. Because
it's tough for you.
Teams, and I make absolutely no difference.
Well, it's tough for you because you're friendly with both head coaches.
Yeah,
and that's a difficult situation.
Well, Andy, I've known since forever, and we become good friends. And we say, and Nick, I don't know him real well, but I like him, and I see him once a year when Howie Roseman takes us all out to dinner. It's a wonderful evening. Jay Wright's there, Jaworski's there, Jeffrey's there, and our wives. We have a blast. It's a great experience every year. But I have never talked football with Nick. I've never sat in his meetings and that. I have with Andy over a long time over the years. So, but that's not a factor. I love both teams. I love the people that are involved in them. The Hunt family, no family ever treated Carol and I better than Lamar Hunt and that organization. And treat the players better. No team I've ever been around with treat the players better, especially when they retire. Jeez.
Well, we both agree that this is going to be a close game, and
we both could be wrong.
Well, hey, wait, I'm going to tell you, Charles Barkley the other night when Charles was on with me, we talked
Charles
about a lot of things. He was great. He changed his prediction on his TNT Inside the NBA show the next day, but not by much. He said here 34-17 Eagles. I'd be shocked if either team scores 34 points. I would really be shocked.
Well, I'll tell you, Charles, Carol and I have both read his book. I may be wrong, but I don't think so. I'll tell you, I've recommended that book to a lot. It's a real good read. And you remember, you set me up so I could call him and tell him how much I enjoyed the book. You set me up so I could do it. But we're big fans of Charles Barkley. I love the confidence he has to say exactly what he thinks. And probably he is the only guy that can get away with it. There are a lot of times I don't say what I really think because I don't want to offend anybody, and I don't want the barrage, and I don't want to put myself as always being right. But he doesn't care. And I enjoy him.
Yeah, well, he's funny. I mean, he knows what he's talking about.
You bet.
He goes. I don't know if you know this, Dick. Every year, because there's no NBA games during the Super Bowl, and his last show is on Thursday. He goes to Las Vegas, parties and parties and parties, and he loves to gamble. So that's what he's doing.
Let me tell you a Las Vegas Barkley story. Okay.
All right, go ahead.
I'm there in a speaking engagement. I don't know, it's 9 or 10 o'clock at night, and I'm walking through, Carol and I are walking through the casino, and there's Charles, and he waves to me, I wave to him, I walk over and shake his hand. He picks up Carol off the ground. Her feet are 3 feet off the ground, spins her around. Carol, at our age, has never forgotten that greeting.
Hey, Dick, you're not old. You're just older. I mean, we're not old. We're just older. You know what? You never forget good moments and good people. No people question. Should understand that.
Yeah.
And I don't want to get into it because I don't know if you're uncomfortable with it. At the beginning, you weren't a big fan of mine because I had strong opinions. But then somewhere along the way, hopefully you realized I was just doing my job, my opinions, and I was always down there. And that's what Charles said about me. He says, if you were critical, you always go down there and you'll talk to somebody. So over the years, and I don't think it's out of line to say, we've become good friends.
Yeah.
And and it's just, we've been out together. I've been over to your house. I just, but you gotta be, as Allen Iverson once said, keep it real for real.
Yeah.
And I think you understood that I was doing my job. I've had players that were mad at me at one time, and then all of a sudden they realized, maybe he was just doing his job. But I'm always willing to talk to people. But our beginning, and Dick, I remember you being, I'll just say, critical of me my first day in television. You remember it too, don't you?
Oh, you bet.
September 20th, 1982. It's my first day until Channel 3 hires me out of the radio. I never worked TV in my life. It's my first. And the Maxwell Club was a luncheon at that time.
Yeah.
And you flat out buried me.
Yeah, I remember that well, because driving to the event, you really got after the 76ers great basketball coach and former player. Okay, you know who we're talking about. You really ripped it. And I was so upset with what you said about him because I had so much respect for him. I did give you a blast.
I'm telling you. And you know what? I kind of understood it. And then we had to work together because we did the pregame show for the preseason games. Yeah. And then I know you were a little hesitant, and your agent at the time, a fellow by the name of Bob Goldie, kind of smoothed it out a little bit. And then you realized I'm just a guy with a lot of opinions, and I try to, a lot of
information. I used to wonder, where in the hell does he get all that information? Because I know it's true. Who's giving it to him?
Well, that's part of the deal. That's part of the deal. But you know what? I'm so glad. And I'll never forget one other thing. I'll never forget Herm Edwards comes out of a meeting and he says, Coach was ripping you in our meeting, and he told us you talk out of your ass and don't listen to him. He said, what do you do to Coach? Herm said that to me. And I said, hey, listen, I have some opinions. But Herm came out of a meeting when you said to the players, don't listen to me. When we look back on it, it's all part of the history of two guys that have been in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
It's not your life, but once you got here from UCLA, it really became Philadelphia.
My family's life. I got 11 grandchildren. Most of them were born here. Okay.
By the way, I really do have to give you a shout out. Your wine is sensational.
Thank you.
You sent me some bottles. I had dinner with the president of Goldie Beacom College in Wilmington, where I'm a doctor now, by the way, Dick. I got a doctorate. And I was the commencement speaker, and we had your wine at our dinner, and it was sensational. Vermeil wines, and it's just, I guess you can get it online, and nowadays you can get it online.
Yeah, right? It's expensive. They're a little company, friends of mine with real money turned my hobby into making wine into a business. And of course, it's a Vermeil. I'm deeply involved. I take pride in what I put my name on. And I help put the people in place because I was born and raised in California. So, what I do, I go after the Peyton Manning of winemaking. I go after the Bill Belichick of winemaking and get Thomas Brown. He's the leading guy, and to be our counselor, be my counselor, teach me what we have to do and do right, and supervise everything for me. And he's still with us. And so we make very good wine. Our tasting room, 2 years in a row, it won the number one tasting room in Napa. And this year it won the number one tasting room in Napa County.
Well, how about that?
So we're doing it right. We don't make any money. All our money goes back into making better wine because, we sell probably 1,800, 2,000 cases of wine a year. Last year we made 1,600 cases. This year it'll be more because the crop is bigger. We don't own the vineyard.
Well, you're from that area. You're from what, Calistoga?
Yeah, I was born and raised there.
Yeah.
So
I mean, you know the wine. I've been to Napa once, and I see what goes on out there. But it's really interesting. You say you don't make any money. We were lucky enough to be able to put our kids through school.
Yeah.
And that's, I busted my ass and you busted yours to make sure, and they had a good life and they got a good education. And that's what it's all about. And at this point in our lives, we just want to have fun. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what I'm doing.
Now we're enjoying 4 great grandchildren. We'll have a great granddaughter, 4 years old, with us here on Tuesday for 4 days. So, okay.
Oh, wow. That's
Exciting.
great. It's just, it's not about, we've earned a good living to do what a lot of parents hope to do, and that's make sure their kids are prepared for life. I mean, the cost of education is ridiculous, but it's tough now, but we've done that, and now we want to have fun. When I'm sitting here doing this, I have fun talking to you. I mean, this is not, we're doing a podcast on the Howard Eskin Show, but it's not, to me, it's not an interview, it's a conversation, because we know each other well enough. We're just bullshitting with each other, and that's a pretty good thing. And Dick, I really appreciate it. Success in all you do. Hall of Fame coach.
You were there.
Yes.
I got some great pictures of you at the party.
I know.
The party was unbelievable, huh?
That was the first time I ever went to the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Really?
And I was so happy that you invited me. And, and I would have probably gone anyway. And I drove out there with a friend. And it was great. It was great because I could see you're so happy when that happens. And it's really a stamp on what you've done in not just your career, in your life.
Well, thank you. What the great thing for me is to see how much fun. It was a reunion for 3 football teams.
Yeah, wow.
Really?
And that's really great. And
that
you know what?
But anyway, appreciate
that was the last.
Go Eagles, go Chiefs. Okay.
Okay. You pick them by a little bit. A little bit. Okay. Hey, Dick, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Hey, good luck on your new venture here.
Okay. Yeah, it's fun. That's what I'm doing. It's fun. And the guys that put this together for me, the production people, creative outfit.
Well, you better be right, because from time to time I'll be watching on your Saturday morning, because on your Saturday morning show I used to text in.
You were always there.
Hey, you're wrong there. You're wrong.
Okay. Well, you can tell me if I'm wrong. You're not going to yell at me like you did that one time, but that's all right. Hey, Dick, thank you very much.
All right. Take care. Good luck.
All right. You too. Thanks. Dick Vermeil, a Hall of Fame coach. It's fun to talk. I've experienced and met so many good people. Obviously they're people mostly in sports, but people. And it's fun to kind of talk to them and share experiences. By the way, he really did bury me. Dick really did bury me. It was right before my first day in television. And by the way, that was an eventful day. Not only did he rip me at the Maxwell Club luncheon, that day the NFL players called a strike. I was the lead story on television on Channel 3 that night. How about doing my first day in television? Here's the coach of the Eagles rips me. Then I do, I'm the lead story on my first day in television on Channel 3, September 20th, 1982. I've done a lot of firsts, boy. First sports talk show on WIP. I wonder how much they appreciate what I've done for that station. But Channel 3, we became a better news organization at that time. And my first day in television, Dick Vermeil buried me in front of all those people. But it's all right, because I look back on it and I laugh and I smile. All right. I want to thank again. And I'm going to talk about the game, and I got some other things I want to talk about. But I want to thank again our first initial sponsor. And by the way, if anybody wants to be a part of this show in sponsorship, in partnership, you can go to ABC Tickets is our first sponsor, and I thank them. I've known them for 30 years. Ticket anywhere in the world. You see the number 800-355-5555. And anywhere in the world. You don't have to pay all those large fees like you pay on the ticket services online. These guys are really good. Guys and ladies are really good. And the thing is, if anybody wants to be a part of it, go to my website, howardeskin.com. Let me know, and I'd be happy to talk to you about being a part of it. It's not expensive, and I want people to be engaged in this program, and my thanks to ABC Tickets. All right, I'm going to take a minuscule break, just a minuscule break, because I'm going to give you my pick on the game, and I got something else that I have to touch on. And by the way, I've seen all these comments, and if there's any other comments that I will address them. Make Saturday great again. I saw somebody said MSGA, make Saturday great again. Well, I'm back on Saturday mornings at 8 o'clock. All right, we're going to take a little tiny break, and I have some other things to say. I'm going to give you my pick on the Super Bowl coming up. We'll be right back. And welcome back. That's fun to talk to people. You talk serious stuff, then you talk about interesting, funny moments. And everybody's got a story about Charles Barkley. Everybody's got a story. All right, I'm going to give you my pick on the game. But before I do that, and this is what I would normally do when I did my show on Saturday mornings. We touch on everything. And I know the Super Bowl is really important, and I'll get to that in a second. However, I've got to talk about this. I've got to talk about the Sixers. I've got to talk about them because it's an embarrassment and it's a disgrace. Do they even try some of the times? Do they even try? I think Detroit, matter of fact, I know Detroit's a better team this year. Paul George, there's so many bad signings by the Sixers. I mean, signing Embiid to a 4-year extension, which starts after this year, which is at an average of $62.5 million a year, is a joke. And it buries this team. Paul George, are you kidding me? You give Paul George a max contract. Last night he scores 14 points, no assists, and has 1 rebound. I mean, I could get 1 rebound. And, I don't even play in the NBA. He's got what last night. He had 1 more rebound than I would have had playing in a game. I mean, that's a joke. Embiid graced everybody by playing. Wonderful, Joel. 23 points, and he's going to score those. 7 for 18 for a guy 7 feet. I don't know that 7 for 18 is really good. Again, he loves to take threes. Didn't go crazy with the threes, but 1 for 4. 4, he shouldn't even be taking 4 3-point shots. I mean, it's just it's really kind of a joke. The other numbers, we know Maxi's the best guy on the team, and I've said that for a while. But they came out in that game last night. Joel Embiid plays, Paul George plays, but in the first quarter, they allow the other team 42 points. 42 points in the first quarter. 36 in the second quarter. So by my math, that's 70. By my math, and I think my math is right in this case, 78 points Detroit scores in the first half. 78 points. That is beyond a total embarrassment. It's beyond a total. The Sixers are getting buried. So they're behind by 15 after the first quarter. They're outscored by another 14 in the second quarter. They didn't even show up. In today's NBA, I talked about it with Charles the other night. Today's NBA, you may not be good enough, and this team's not good enough. Daryl Morey's done just a pathetic job. And then he signs guys, and then he just dumps them. It's terrible. Somebody wrote on social media about Daryl Morey. Oh, he's improved his team since he got here. Traded Al Horford, had to give up a first-round pick. Al Horford did some good things for the Boston Celtics. Traded a first-round pick for George Hill, who lasted here 3 months. Sucked. And they say, well, he drafted Maxey. Well, he didn't draft Maxey because that was Elton Brand, because Daryl Morey had only been here about a week, and he said Elton Brand really made that decision. And then, he drafted McCain. Let's just relax on McCain. I don't think McCain and Maxey fit on the floor together at the same time. But that, I just can't let it go. That Friday night embarrassment by the Sixers against Detroit is disgraceful. It's disgraceful. This team, show up. And hey, don't take your paycheck. If you're not going to show up, don't take your paycheck. The Sixers, are they trying to tank again? Are we into tank two? The process, to use that word, it's a process of failure is what it is. So they don't want to give up their first round pick. And if it's top 6, they don't give it up. But if it's beyond that, they give it up to Oklahoma City. Another great trade by Daryl Morey. So, all right. I got the Sixers off my chest. I had to get it off my chest. The Eagles, right now, and it's flipping back and forth. It was 1.5 most of the week. It went to a pick. Now in some places, Kansas City is a 1-point favorite. The over-under is 48.5. I like the under. I just don't think teams – I think it's 2 good defensive teams, clearly. The Eagles have a better team personnel-wise. The coach is better for Kansas City. The quarterback's better. And I don't think the Eagles are going to get – I would be surprised if they get the number of turnovers in this game, and that's helped them win the game. And plus 10 in the playoffs, it's mind-boggling. They were that good. So it's those things don't lean in the Eagles' favor. However, they are a better team. I think the Eagles are going to win by that much. That much. It's just yeah, they really are a better team. They are a better team personnel-wise. So we'll see. All right. I appreciate everybody that joined us here for the Howard Eskin Show, the Howard Eskin podcast. Hopefully you do it again. Just stay we'll out there when I'm again. I might pop on after the game to express some things in a short session, but definitely Saturday mornings at 8:00, you will be able to hear me, because all those people that set their calendars and their clocks for Saturday morning. Thanks again. Thanks to ABC Tickets for being our first. They will be our first sponsor on the Howard Eskin Show. And if people want to be a part of this show, just go to the website, howardeskin.com, and let me know, and I will get in touch with you. I've met a few people. I'd like to get the people that I have great relationships back to be a part of this again. Thanks to you. Thanks to Creative Outfit for the production that we go through here. There you go. There's my guy, PJ. Alex is in the background there. You know, Alex I guess he doesn't like the cameras. But whatever. Whatever. You know what? We're going to keep Alex a secret. We're going to keep him a secret from you, so people don't stop him on the streets, because I know people will stop him on the streets. Now PJ's been exposed. All right. Thanks again. And we'll let you know when we're back, but definitely on Saturday mornings at 8:00. Thanks. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the Super Bowl. In the Philadelphia area, a little snow this afternoon, late this afternoon. Next week, they'll be saying, you know what, where the hell's that coming from? But enjoy it. Be safe. And thanks again for being a part of what hopefully will be a regular situation for you. It certainly will be for me. And I do this to have fun and to engage with you, the people. And I try to respond when people respond when they watch this after it's live. And I try to respond to as many people as I can, and I will try to respond to you. Thanks again. Have a great weekend, and enjoy it. Just enjoy it. The Howard Eskin Show. I hope you enjoy Dick Vermeil. Charles Barkley, Dick Vermeil. I don't know how much better we can do. But we're going to do better. I'm not done with really, really good people and good guests. Have a good weekend, and thank you for being a part of it.